welcome everyone to the Alaska Highway Consortium on Teacher Education program. With me tonight, we have Angela, and Angela works out of the Dawson Creek and Fort St. John campus of Northern Lights. She's the coordinator of AHCOTE, and I have Andrea with me. She is one of three program assistants in the office that works with me down here in the Lower Mainland. And my name is Suzanne, and I um, normally work in the Burnaby campus, but because I am reporting from home today, I have Surrey campus picture behind me because that's closest to me. So welcome. Today's presentation is going to be about 45 minutes of me talking, and then there'll be lots of time for questions at the end of the session. Okay, so let's get started. So first off, I just want to acknowledge that SFU in the Lower Mainland does run its programs out of three different cities. So it's Burnaby, Surrey, and Vancouver are actually on a number of unceded territories of Indigenous people. So we just like to acknowledge that we are on the Musqueam, Squamish, Tsleil-Waututh, Katzie, Coquitlam, Kwantlen, Siamu, Tsawwassen Peoples territories. Now, the AHCOTE program runs up in the northeast part of British Columbia, so it is on Treaty 8 territory, so traditional lands of those people with Tribal 8 association. So the Beaver, the Cree, and the Tsleil-Waututh. Sorry if I'm pronouncing that incorrectly. So we just like to say that, and because we do know that our education and institutions are on unceded territory, so it's important to make note of that. Here's a fun picture of Angela. Um, that's how she looks day in, day out, actually, at the campus. So she's the coordinator of AHCOTE. And then Wendy Palmer, who I think can't be with us today, she's actually also a coordinator. She works out of the Lower Mainland office, but she does come up to AHCOTE territory a few times a year to work with the students. So you'll get to know her as well. Now, this is me and my coworker, Dawn. And we are the two admission coordinators. And then, as I said, we have program assistants in the office. So we have Charlene, Andrea, and Rafaela. If you're contacting us, probably the easiest way for you to talk to us is during virtual office advising hours. We have those on Mondays and Wednesdays at 3 p.m. You can also call and email us, but sometimes because we're a small office, those do back up a bit. So you're welcome to contact us any of those three ways after today's session. Okay, so SFU teacher education. So my office is called the Pre-Service Professional Studies Office, but that actually is doesn't mean anything to a lot of people. The easier description is we're the teacher education office at SFU. So we do four teacher education programs. The largest one is the professional development program, and it's in the Lower Mainland. Then there's the professional linking program. This is a program for people who are currently working in the BC schools as paraprofessionals. So they work with kindergarten to grade 12 students. This program also runs up in the Peace region. If you're interested, we do have a recording of the PLP that you can go watch, and you can contact us if you have questions about the professional linking program. And then we have, as I said, the Alaska Highway Consortium on Teacher Education, and it is actually a external version of our PDP. So it's got slightly different coursework, but we run it in the Fort St. John, Dawson Creek area, and it has slightly different admission requirements to the PDP. But no matter which of those three programs you do, they are all 60 units and they all get you teacher education certification. So they are seen as equivalent when you're getting certified to teach. Now, we also have a much smaller program called Helping Ease Access for Returning Teachers, and that's basically for people who are previously certified teachers in BC or current ones that want to redo their practicum. So when you do the PDP, the PLP, or AHCOTE, if you enter the program with a degree, you can declare the Bachelor of Ed as a second degree as part of the program. It's no extra courses and no additional coursework. Now, SFU is actually celebrating 60 years this year. The PDP itself is 60 years old. It's the oldest teacher ed program in the province of British Columbia. And now it has, of course, changed over the years, the admission requirements, the content. But actually, the core courses have not changed over the years of the PDP. So we're very happy to celebrate that SFU itself has done over 24,000 teacher certifications over the years. And SFU still pursues to do their teacher education programs in a non-traditional community first-based approach. So we try to go to where the students are to run a program. And so the PLP was the first major program that we did that with. We saw there was a need for people working in the schools to be able to be a teacher without losing their jobs and giving up positions. So the PLP was created. And of course, AHCOTE has been running for more than 20 years. Up in the Northeast region. So allowing people to stay in their community to do their teacher education program. So next we're going to talk about the AHCOTE program itself. And I'm going to let uh, Angela talk for these slides because she knows a little bit more about it because she's living it in and out daily. So over to you, Angela.
Thank you, Suzanne. Hello, everyone. Yes, so here's a photo of one of our outdoor retreats at School District 60's Camp Cameron, where we do a retreat each year with our student teachers. So this isn't what it looks like every day, but it is definitely part of the program. It's a full-time program, AHCOTE, 4 semesters. And the structure of it is just like the PDP program in terms of your instructors are certified, experienced K-12 teachers in the public school system. That's what makes SFU so unique. And we're just seconded from our school districts to do the work with our student teachers. We have usually a small cohort of student teachers, so the ratio of instructor to students is really wonderful. Community first approach, you can see we're on the land there at Camp Cameron, which is just outside Moberly Lake. We do all sorts of work with the local First Nations. We participate in elders and residents programs we're really enmeshed in the community. So you can see on the map our little region. I'm not sure we cover that much area, but we certainly could. As Suzanne said, our program has been in place for a really long time, since 1987, actually. So again, out of the need to recognize that we wanted to train teachers that live in the northeast of BC to stay and teach in the northeast, because to leave our community to go way down to the lower mainland is a financial burden. So to allow teachers or to allow people to stay in their districts or stay in their regions and become certified was really, really important. As Suzanne said, flexible entry requirements, which is unique for AHCOTE. If you're down in the lower mainland, you need to have your undergraduate degree completed prior to entering PDP. Whereas at AHCOTE, there's a couple of options. You can come in with a completed degree or come in with a partial degree and then work on finishing it later. So right now I'm the coordinator and I live in Dawson Creek, but I travel back and forth to Fort St. John. And then we also have a faculty associate, another instructor who lives in Fort St. John. So we've got a couple of people on the ground right now. We do our best to limit travel between the towns. Today was a case in point. Those of you who are up here, you know, winter has come. So we try and limit that travel as much as we can, but we try to make it fair for our students. So there is some travel between the Dawson Creek and Fort St. John campuses during the time when there is on-campus learning. We do a fall intake every year. The program is full-time, so it's 4 semesters. So 60 units completed over those 4 terms. So if you started this fall, September 2026, you would finish in December 2027. Our first term is quite unique. It's a little bit different than the PDP program down in the lower mainland, in that we're bringing in people from multiple backgrounds with what they have in terms of their education. So the coursework is a bit unique depending on whether you're elementary, secondary, whether you have a degree or not, and whether you've completed some of our new requirements or prerequisites, the Education 220 and 252, which are offered by the college. But typically, you'll take about 15 units in that first term. I actually just drove back from Fort St. John where I was teaching today, the new A or the current AHCOTE group. And they have some classes that are online, some that are by Zoom, some that are in Dawson. So it's a little bit of a mixed bag that first term, but we do our best to make it as smooth sailing as possible. I feel like I'm rushing, but I'll try and slow down maybe. Second semester, the spring term from January to April is what we call Education 401(2), and it's a combination of some weeks that are spent full-time on campus, so between the Dawson Creek and Fort St. John Northern Lights College campuses, full-time Monday to Friday, 9 to 3. And this is where we start digging into the work of, the theory of teaching, pedagogy, methodology, all of those sorts of things um, in a full-time way. And then there is a 6-week initial teaching experience where you'll be placed in a local school, in your local community school. So if you live in Dawson Creek, you'll be placed in Dawson Creek. If you live in Fort St. John, you'll be placed in Fort St. John. And you do a 6-week placement there in a classroom where you do a lot of observing, seeing what teaching is all about. And it's your first chance to kind of do a bit of planning and teaching on your own. So you're sort of dipping your toes into the water of teaching under the guidance of your faculty associate and the school associate whose classroom you'll be in. Term 3, there's what we call Education 404, and it's like it's an umbrella term. So if you think of an umbrella and some things hanging from it, sort of the methodology coursework that you need to take. So we just call that Education 404. So typically you'll take 2 classes in person on the Dawson Creek or Fort St. John campuses in May and June in that intersession. So it's quite a condensed amount of time. But then you'll also do 2 courses probably online through SFU to make sure that you get your 15 credits in that Education 404. We're still, I think this has almost been finalized, but maybe not officially. We have, I believe, have it in place so that you do not need to go down to Burnaby if you are in the secondary stream. You'll be able to take your courses, the course that you need for, like, say, you're a science teacher and you need to take your science methodology, that you'll be able to do that online. We're still fine-tuning that, but it should be in place, which we worked really hard to get that so that you don't have to spend that money to relocate down to SFU for that term. So again, your coursework is all done up in Dawson Creek and Fort St. John. 2 courses face-to-face in that intersession, and then 2 courses online from May to August.
Angela, you are correct. Most people for secondary will not be leaving the Fort St. John area. There would be an exception if someone was a French teachable, I believe.
Okay,
So that's why we say may.
thank you. Thank you for clarifying
Just
that,
in case anyone in the group wants to be like a secondary French teacher.
which we never have had, but maybe
You
one day.
never know, though. You never know. So most people will be staying up in
Yeah,
Fort St. John, Dawson Creek in the summer
yeah.
from now on. I believe it has been approved.
Which is a big deal. SFU has really advocated really strongly to make sure that we have options for people to stay in the north. We know it's an incredible financial burden to travel down or to leave your family. And so SFU has worked really hard to advocate for that and to put into place what needs to happen so that you can stay in Fort St. John or Dawson Creek and do that coursework. So we're really happy. We're actually the only program that exists where you can stay up in this region and do all of your coursework. We're the only program that does this. And then finally, we get to the last term of the program, which will be September to December of 2027, and it goes fast. This is the teaching term. So essentially, you come to campus for a couple of weeks while we work really hard on unit planning and lesson planning and getting you ready to go into a 10-week certifying practicum where you teach for about 7 of those weeks, almost full time, to give you a real sense of what teaching is going to look like. So all of the learning you've done in those first 3 terms, that then is your chance to apply that.
Okay, thank you, Angela.
Thank
Now we're
you.
going to talk about what a lot of people come here that want to know is how do I get into the program? Like, what do I need to do and how do I apply to the program? So, the program technically has 3 streams for admission. So, one of them is for people who don't have a degree. They can go into the elementary level of AHCOTE and they have to come in with 60 units. We'll talk a little bit more about that like in the next few slides, but there is an option for you to come in, do your teacher ed, and work on your bachelor degree at the same time. Then there's the option you already have a degree and you want to be an elementary school teacher. That's where you can opt into the Bachelor of Ed as a second degree. And then the third stream is you have a degree done and it's in some sort of teachable subject, and you're going to come in and you want to do secondary level. And at that, you can also opt in to do the Bachelor of Ed as a second degree. The general admission requirements that everyone needs to have is everyone needs to have some classroom experience or working with groups of children. We like to see like groups of 10 or more. So maybe you're teaching soccer or fine and performing arts, uh, coaching, those sorts of things. So ideally, you have some experience in the classroom. It can be paid or unpaid. So if you're currently working as an EA or something, that's okay. You can still put it on your resume and apply. Um, we do highly recommend that people get into the K to 12 classroom and that they use ideally one or two of those teachers that they're working with as a recommender. This year, we have moved saying that of your 3 recommendations you need for the program, 2 of them have to be from educators or people that have overseen you working with children and youth. So that's a slight change from previous years of applying. So we really do encourage you to get out there and see if that's the right career for you and talk to some teachers about the highs and lows of being a teacher. There's all sorts of great reasons why you would want to be a teacher, but it is a challenging career. So it is good to talk to people who are doing it for a living. And Angela is one of those people you can talk to about that as well. Okay, so here's the admission requirements. So for people that are coming in without a degree, most of you are coming in with what's called the Associate of Arts in Education from NLC, but you might not. You might be coming in with just 60 units, like part of a degree done from somewhere else. But if you're coming in with the associate degree from Northern Lights, that is 60 units. So we need to see you in the 60 units at the time that you're applying. It should include the Education 220 and 252 course. You need to have a 2.5 GPA. If you want to do the Bachelor of General Studies in the Faculty of Education, that associate degree has Education 100 in it. And that's an important prerequisite to have. So you do want to make sure if you're doing that associate degree that you have those 3 education courses in there. And of course, the English and elementary prerequisites to our program are built into that associate degree. Now, you have to make sure that by the time you're entering AHCOTE, you'll have your associate degree done, and you have to have a plan to where you're going to finish your degree. So you can, as I said, one option is coming and doing the SFU Bachelor of General Studies. But let's say you started your degree in another province, or you have sort of a mix of courses from Northern Lights, but not quite an associate degree, and you want to come in and finish a degree. Thompson Rivers and Athabasca are a great option for transferring your units into and finishing your degree in the Fort St. John or Dawson Creek or Peace Region somewhere. Okay, so give some thought to that, talk to your advisors, and see where you think you might want to do your degree. So if you're coming into the AHCOTE program, and you have a degree and you want to teach elementary, what we're looking for is that we look to see, okay, do you have a degree? It's got to be at least a 3-year degree. We look for the GPA and we look to see, do you have the English and elementary prerequisite courses either complete or in progress? And you ask, what are these courses you talk of? And here they are. So these are the elementary prerequisite courses. So everyone has to have two English courses, 6 units of English, and everyone must have one Canadian history, one Canadian geography, the equivalent to SFU Math 190, and 3 units of a lab science. If you can, we suggest you do the Education 220 and 252 at either SFU or Northern Lights. But if you don't have them, you can still come into the program. You'll just pick up those courses in the first term of AHCOTE as part of your AHCOTE program if you don't have them. If you come in with them, you're doing slightly different education courses in the first term. So it would be good if you can to pick those courses up. I believe they started in the fall. So if you've missed your chance, that's okay. You can still apply without them. Okay. And there is a chart on our website that lists not only Northern Lights courses that'll work for these prerequisites, but where you can take them like all across the province. And some of the options are online. Now, if you have a degree and it's in some sort of teachable subject, then you might want to consider doing secondary level ACOTE. So for secondary, what we're looking for is everyone has to have still the two English courses, 6 units of English. And then we're looking for you to have 30 units, and 24 of those units have to be at third and fourth year. That's what upper division is in a teachable subject. So our teachable subjects are English, math, biology, earth science, chemistry, physics, French, music, physical education, art, and social studies. If your degree's in dance, drama, or computer science, you have to have another teachable to go with it. So if you have, for example, an English degree from UNBC, chances are you meet the requirements to come into secondary English because that university probably has asked you to do at least 30 units in English and 24 of them are upper division. So if your degree is in something and you're not clear if that's a teachable subject, you can definitely contact our office for a pre-evaluation. We'll put up like the email address is in the presentation, which you will get sent out to you, but also we'll put it in the chat later on for you to get the email address to send it to. So if you have an unusual secondary or a post-secondary degree, but you want to be a secondary school teacher, you can send that to us. Now, the one thing that we like to point out for social studies, because we do get an awful lot of applicants for social studies, is that there is some additional requirements if you're going to be a social studies teacher. So if you had a degree in history or political science or geography, you meet the first requirement of having an acceptable teachable subject, but then you do have to have some specific courses in history, geography, and some Canadian content. So go to the website, check it out. If you have any questions at all, contact our office early in your application process, and we can direct you to where to take the courses you might be missing or do a double check to see if you have them done in your degree coursework already. So regardless of which way you come into the program, whether you're coming into elementary with or without a degree or going into secondary, everyone who finishes ACOTE is going to be recommended for teacher certification. There's a couple different levels of certification in the province of British Columbia. So people who come in without a degree into the elementary stream are going to be given what's called conditional teacher certification in the province of British Columbia, which means you get 5 years to finish your degree to keep your certification, and it would move to then professional teacher certification once your degree is done. There is no expiry date on the professional one. There is only an expiry date on the conditional one, which is why what we ask you to do when you come in as an elementary non-degreed is have that plan. Where are you going to finish your degree? Because you're going to have to chip away at it after you're done ACOTE and you're out teaching, chip away at it a few courses every year for you to finish your degree. Okay. When you come in with the degree, whether or not you declare the Bachelor of Ed or a second degree, it doesn't matter. You're going to be recommended for the professional teaching certification. Okay, and that does not have an expiry date. Now, the different outcomes, as I said, everyone gets certification. The people who came in with a degree have the option of doing a Bachelor of Ed as a second degree. Most people want to do that. The way we schedule the courses in AHCOTE is that everyone has the option to declare it. We are requiring you to do certain courses that fit one of the education minors at SFU. So if you want to do the Bachelor of Ed as a second degree and you come into AHCOTE, we definitely strive to make that happen for you. Now, how do you apply? The first thing you need to do is if you're not currently an SFU student, you need to apply to SFU undergraduate admissions. So you need to go through what's called Education Planner BC and apply to SFU. Now, what's weird and wonderful is that you apply to the PDP, not AHCOTE, because remember, AHCOTE is an external PDP. So when you go in to apply for SFU, you apply for the Professional Development Program. For those of you that are doing the Associate of Arts in Education and you think, hey, I might want to do the Bachelor of General Studies, you can put that as your second choice on your application. Okay. So that's the first step is you apply through SFU undergrad because that's where you're going to send all your transcripts to. So they'll give you a student number and you get a login and you can upload all your transcripts that you need to submit for admission. Then you're going to scoot on over to a website and it's called SurveyMonkey Apply. And I'll show you what it looks like in a minute. And you're going to do the broad-based supplemental application for SFU, PDP, NACOTE, and PLP. So they're all on the same website. Okay. So you can choose which one you want to apply to. And this is the application that you can work on for many months. You have until February 7th to finish it. So you can start tonight and you can start by putting in your contact info and then work on your resume. There's 3 short essay questions. So in the past, it was one big essay. We got rid of the one big essay. You can go in and see what the 3 short essay questions are. And they truly are short. It's just 300 words each to answer each one. So it's not, a major essay you're writing. You put in the names of your recommenders and their work emails. And then an email will go out to them for them to complete a recommendation for you. And you pay your application fee, and then you submit your application to AHCOTE. You make sure you send those transcripts to SFU undergraduate admissions. And as I said, for most of them, you can just upload it yourself. For a few of them, they'll ask you to send it electronically from your university or college. Okay. And we have detailed application instructions on our website. So if you have any questions at all, remember this is just a brief overview, but you definitely can look at the PDF of the detailed application instructions. Now, the people who apply and they submit their transcripts, they probably will be contacted for an interview in March, and then they make their final admission decisions for AHCOTE. This is what SurveyMonkey Apply looks like. When you go in for the first time, if you've never been in before, it's going to ask you to register for an account, use an email address that you use regularly, and create an account. Don't use an email address that you never check, okay? When you go in, it's going to say, hey, which ones do you want to apply to? You're going to click AHCOTE. If anyone here is interested in the PLP and you've gone to an info session for that and you want to apply to both, you can do that. It's 2 different apps. But you can start the AHCOTE one and then it leads you to a bunch of tasks that you need to do. This is what it looks like. So it will step by step show you what you need to do. And in some cases, you can jump ahead and do one thing before another thing. So everyone should do the contact info. That's your name and address, or your phone number. That's important. Then it's going to ask you, did you apply to SFU? And so you put in the SFU student number that you were given or your education planner reference number that you were given. The apply to NLC is an optional task because for those of you that have already finished Education 220 and 252, you don't need to be at NLC in the fall term. But if you need to take those courses, you do apply to NLC, and there is a contact. I actually forgot to put Hazel's email on the slide deck. So I'm not sure how that got dropped off, but we'll make sure that gets added on for this getting emailed out to you. Hazel is the person to answer your questions about how to get into NLC for the fall. So this just basically, it's a check of you need to do it and that you're going to do it. And then you get into the AHCOTE application. It's going to ask you what level you want to teach and if secondary, what subject. We do ask that if you're Indigenous to self-identify, okay? You don't have to submit any proof or anything. We want you to self-identify for a couple different reasons. Number one, it does give you access to more funding and resources on campus. And two, it it removes the application fee off this application for you. So if you are Indigenous, please self-identify on the form. It can only work to your advantage. And then you put up your resume, do the short essay questions, and request those recommenders. And remember, the recommenders need to submit their recommendations for you before you can submit. So we do sort of encourage you to start this application earlier rather than later to give your recommenders maximum time to submit their recommendations for you. Now, once it's all submitted, how do we choose who gets into the program? Well, remember that we're sort of non-traditional. So the make or break of getting in is not how high your GPA is. You can have a 2.5 or you can have a 4.33. Everyone has an equal opportunity to get into the program because what we're looking for is you as a person. What experience do you have working with kids? What sort of interpersonal skills do you have? Do you have leadership potential? Are you supporting learning in somewhere in your community? So that's what I said. It's important not only if you volunteered in a classroom, but if you were teaching Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, sports, fine and performing arts. Um, all of that should be on your resume. Show us all about you. You will have an opportunity to meet with the coordinator to tell them a little bit about yourself, but you want to tell them as much about yourself as possible on that essay, or sorry, in the resume, in the short essay questions, and pick recommenders that are telling us something about you. Okay, so you're going to get in based on these skills, not how high your GPA is. That's the good news. Now, I'm almost done, and I feel like I'm rushing a little bit too, but I'm not. So we are on track to finish on time to have questions. So stay with us a few more minutes, please. This is just a reminder of some of the deadlines. This information is on our website, but I know our website can sometimes be a little difficult to navigate if you're new to the SFU website. So just so you know, the first step is you're going to apply to SFU undergrad. They have a deadline of the 31st of January, but you do get till February 7th to submit your broad-based one. That's your one with your recommendations and your resume and everything. The transcripts should be uploaded to SFU by February 7th. So you'll get that login to be able to upload them to the SFU undergraduate website. Your prerequisites should be finished by the end of May. So if you're taking your courses in the spring at NLC, that's good. And if you're taking something online, make sure you're writing that exam before the end of May and finishing the course by then, and then upload the or make sure you send us the final transcript at the end of May. And for anyone who's finishing their degree right now, if you want to do the Bachelor of Ed degree, make sure you're sending us a letter saying that you're going to finish your degree by August 31st. Okay, so you get the summer to finish your degree, but we do need a letter from your advisor earlier in the application process, but you get till the end of August to finish your degree. Last but not least, oh, here's the contact information for Hazel. I think it's supposed to be on an earlier slide, but Hazel is acode@nlc.bc.ca. This is the Fort St. John campus. So I love how it lights up at night. And of course, that's a rare picture of the northern lights up there without clouds over the campus. So that's beautiful. So I think we can stop recording now.